the Altoona Curve at home this weekend at P&G Field, taking on the Bowie Bay Sox. They've been playing them all week, slugging it out with them last night. Jon Mozes from the Curve is with us. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. John, good morning. Last night we get the score. We take a look at the box score. We see what happened in that game. We say, well, that was different, wasn't it?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. When you have a 9-2 lead after the second inning, you say to yourself, okay, this is probably cruising to a win here, but those guys for Bowie, man, they can really swing the bat. They hit 4 home runs to retake the lead at one point there in the 7th inning, and got to credit to Altoona for continuing to battle and, coming away with a 1-run victory on a night where it looked like they'd cruise to an easy one.
Yeah, Curve getting nicked up a little bit, and Nick Gonzalez is one of those guys who got nicked up, so he's out of the lineup. But there are plenty of bats around, and Andres Alvarez has been swinging a good one.
For sure. Alvarez now with 9 home runs leading the team. Just sort of coming out of nowhere. Not a guy that is on any prospect lists or was even starting, on opening day. He's just a guy who's forced his way into the lineup every day because he's been productive whenever he's been in there. So it's one of those good problems to have as a manager for Kyron Madison. And I don't know where Altoona would be without his production this season.
Yeah, he's been really good. Brent Sitta's been good too.
Yeah, Brent, has just sort of calmed things down a little bit. He provides just almost a veteran presence of sorts, but just sort of a calming approach at the plate. He constantly gives the team good, consistent at-bats. He hits the ball hard, which, now that he is getting regular opportunities with Altoona, he, wasn't really playing every day up at AAA to start the year. Now he's really starting to hit his stride, and he's really helped lengthen the lineup. 1 through 9 has been tough for opponents to get through.
I think one of the interesting things about watching the Curve, knowing the success these guys had at Greensboro last year and that they had the previous year as well, as they've been coming up through the system, is we talk about the steps that you take from one level of baseball to the next, and they talk about the difficulty of making the step from high A to double A being one of the biggest ones. One of the other things about the Curve is this roster is really, really young. Probably the youngest roster in all of Double-A baseball. So for these guys to find a level of consistency, we know that it's there. We know that the talent is really good. It's going to take a while to make the full adjustment, and they seem to be in the process of doing that. You put together a 5-game win streak, and then you get the 4-game losing streak after that. You see the inconsistency, and a lot of that, I think, has to do with inexperience and youth.
It sure does. As you said, the average player at Double-A is about 24 and a half years old, and the average age of the Curve roster is right around 23. You've got key guys like Leober Peguero's 21, Nick Gonzalez turned 23 at the end of May, Blake Sable's 23. Just about every guy that's, playing every day for the Curve is younger than the average player in this league. So, it's when those guys have success is when, it should send up a flare to those of us outside of the Curve bubble that, hey, these guys might be really good if they're having success against older competition at this level. It's about finding that consistency, and I know it's something that the Curve coaching staff has been talking to these guys about bringing the same approach every day, bringing the same energy every day. When you get into month 3 of the season, which as we have arrived here in June, it can be hard to maintain your energy level on a day-to-day basis as you try to sort of break yourself out of the mud once in a while. So, once Altoona finds a little bit more of that consistency, the team's just going to take off.
I think one of the interesting things about that as well is young pitchers. And the Pirates have placed a lot of young pitchers with the Altoona Curve. They have to learn their way as well, and I think it's even more difficult for a pitcher to find that level at Double-A ball than it is for position players, because it is such a craft.
Yeah, it really is something you have to work at. And I was listening in as Mike Burrows talked to a couple of writers out of Pittsburgh, came to visit us on Wednesday. To watch him start and gather some comments from him. And after the game, Mike was saying, look, not every day you're going to have your best stuff. I'm not much of an individual accomplishment guy. He had just been named pitcher of the week, and he was just saying, I've got to bring the same attitude every day. I've got to bring my best every day. And, you can't get too high, you can't get too low, or else this game will just eat you up. And I loved that perspective because I think that's something that everybody's going to sort of learn as this year wears on. And, to hear somebody like Mike at 22 years of age to be saying that, is just somebody that has the right mentality to be successful in the long run.
Yeah, Mike is one of the big stories, and he seems to have burst into the limelight here in this last week or so. Another of those big stories with the Curve this season so far has been Kyle Nicholas. I guess we're going to get a chance to see him tonight.
Yeah, Kyle has just sort of risen to the expectation. I think people had some expectation for him when he came over as one of the key pieces in the Jacob Stallings trade in this past offseason. And, he's starting to find his stride, striking out 8 batters in 2 of his last 3 outings. I think the key for Kyle is to just be a little bit more efficient early in the game so he has a chance to pitch into the 6th inning, maybe the 7th inning more often. Kyle's been limited to about 5 innings so far because he's around 85 or 90 pitches after 5 innings. So, that's part of the learning process for Nicholas is to how to continue to have your best stuff in the strike zone most often, but also still get hitters out in an efficient manner.
Yeah, it's interesting just to watch that pitching staff because every single night we know that there's somebody who is really a good prospect going to the mound for the Curve. Just to see how they do is kind of fascinating for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the fun